On today's show, water quality is a big-time topic in Minnesota. Pollution, runoff, erosion. The news is not good sometimes until you take time to visit a small greenhouse in Maple Plain, Minnesota.
Kind of my favorite plant.
Next up, we visit a man who has redefined the term man cave as we know it. You'll want to tag along.
We're almost there.
Our Wild in the Kitchen this week features a little comfort food, just in time for the approaching fall.
Beautiful.
There we go.
Our Minnesota Bound Classic this week is in honor of one of Minnesota's fishing greats. We lost him recently, remembering Ted Capra. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's Select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, today there's lots of concern about clean water, buffer strips, you've heard all of the news. But what about our lakes? What can we do to keep our lakes clean? Bill Shirk has the answer.
Nature's paintbrush long ago colored Minnesota's landscape. But somewhere, somehow, life got in the way. The Minnesota DNR estimates 99% of our native grasslands have disappeared. 90% of our wetlands are gone. Exactly why this modest West Metro greenhouse means so much.
This order is going to Bush Lake, bulrushes, arrowhead,
Jill Langer picks plants.
everything that grows in a Minnesota lake.
Greenery native to Minnesota and hand-grown from hand-picked seed.
This is prairie onion.
Jill fills orders, daughter Ella fills pots.
And right now I'm actually doing swamp milkweed, which is kind of my favorite plant.
This is a flowering business. Excuse the pun. Brainstormed to take part of Minnesota back in time. See, all these plants will end up along Minnesota lakes, specifically the lake shores, which is where Jill's husband steps in.
We're providing, a lot of plants, a lot of food source for, bees and butterflies, a lot of habitat for nesting, and then we're also providing those plants to help stabilize the shoreline.
Rob Langer and business partner Bill Bartoje own Natural Shore Technologies.
These sedges do very well in sunnier spots, shadier spots.
A dream to rehabilitate Minnesota's well-worn lakes.
We just do one of these.
You can really see on the shoreline here where the plants aren't, it's starting to erode away, just little places like this. So what we're doing on this project is filling those gaps and really trying to stabilize the shoreline from the effects of the waves.
The natives grow into another role, maybe their most important.
What we're doing is we're providing a 15, 20-foot buffer from yard activities and road activities. So all the things that we do, fertilize and mow our lawn and put salt on the road and all those kind of things. If we can have a buffer from that, which we're doing here, those things kind of get filtered out before they get to the lake.
During summer months, those things are primarily nitrogen and phosphorus, two nutrients found in the fertilizers we all use on our lawns and our crops.
That's what causes all the algae blooms in the water. So as much as we can provide a filter before that gets into the water, the cleaner our water will be.
Exactly why Colin Zumwald works on hands and knees doing the dirty work.
The flowers are nice to look at, but the sedges, I think, do a lot of the work.
In 2 years, it's going to be a sea of flowers and sedges. People are going to love it.
Yep, given time to grow, these landscapes flourish. Healthy mini ecosystems good for water, good for people, and good for wildlife. Which takes us back to Natural Shore's other greenhouse.
Usually we say 18 inches apart.
I call it Shirley's house.
This is where I escape.
It's nice. Plants don't talk back.
Shirley Mock-Koyman runs Natural Shore Technologies Retail Shop, the spot where people can come buy native plants in smaller doses.
First off, I'm trained as a botanist, so I'm amongst plants. And it's lovely to be able to share the knowledge with the public.
Her current message, flowering plants, good for the birds and especially the bees.
The pollinator situation, it's more and more critical for us to start relearning what natives can do.
Exactly why they're in business. Now, the holders of nature's paintbrush, recoloring one small stroke at a time.
It's a lifestyle that we have really, really enjoyed. It's who we are.
Coming up, it's about a man and his cave and all the treasures it holds.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers, Jesse Treble's Safe Basements of Minnesota, Evinrude, the official outboard motor of Minnesota Bound, and by Kinetico.
Sorry, ladies, but this next story is for men only. Are you ready, men? Time to visit a man cave. If you're wondering where men go when the hunting and fishing seasons end, when the NFL occupies the tube on Sunday, Monday, and Thursday nights, well, Rod Taylor will take you there.
After 38 years of marriage, my wife has learned to humor me.
To his Twin Cities man cave. Man cave? Definition: a man's retreat. Also called the last bastion of masculinity, filled with not her stuff, but his stuff. A log cabin motif. A fireplace built with smooth stones from a stream.
Brought a number of these stones back from Canada. They were uniquely rounded, and they remind me of a great fishing expedition. To me, this space represents total relaxation. I know it sounds odd that I can just sit here and look at things and be totally relaxed, but you know, that's the reality.
Ah, yes, a man cave doesn't need interior designers with their accent pieces and stuff like that. In Rod's world, the whole cave is an accent piece on one man's whim.
I buy things because I really appreciate them, and I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to worry about, gee, I need to sell something before I can buy something. My wife would say that's a problem too. This really is a memory cave as much of a man cave as it is, because every single piece tells a story.
Stories galore. Let's begin with the canoe.
Around the turn of the 19th century into the 20th century, Old Town Canoe Company used to offer a 4-foot canoe to every dealer that would buy a rail car of canoes. Now, those canoes now sell for $18,000. This is a pretty good reproduction, but it's not $18,000. A friend of mine named B.J. Polazik out of Michigan restores old outboard engines, and I've got several of them, and I love them. This is an Elto Pal. It's about a 3 horsepower, and it's from around 1947. It used to be you caught a fish, you ate a fish, and then somebody got the bright idea of sketching the fish out on brown paper, and then somebody else got the idea of, well, let's sketch out the fish on a plank of wood, and we can cut it out and nail it to the wall. And that evolved into what you see here, which is a carved wooden fish effigy. These started at about the turn of the 19th century in Scotland and in England.
Clearly, a man's cave is never full. As you might expect, Rod shares his man cave with other men.
You know, the man cave is fantastic. The ambiance, kind of that North Woods feeling you have sitting here is just incredible, relaxing. You know, it's just really, it's fantastic.
So, ladies, now you know where men go. Their memories go too. To a place where the decor might be awful, the color scheme outdated, but hey, who cares? It's a cave, right, men?
Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Epping, veterinarian at the Blaine Area Pet Hospital. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about pet obesity. Minnesota consistently ranks as one of the top 10 healthiest states in the nation, but we've got some bad news for you. A recent report actually ranked Minnesota #1 in terms of pet obesity for both our dogs and cats. Obesity is mainly caused by overfeeding, a lack of exercise, and common misconceptions about what actually qualifies as being overweight. I always like to tell my clients that a good rule of thumb is you should be able to feel the ribs, not see them, and actually be able to see a little bit of a waistline towards the hips of your pet. Prevention is key. Routine examinations and nutritional counseling with your veterinarian is a great first step. Couple that with 30 minutes of vigorous exercise, and in no time, our pets are going to be just as healthy as we are in the state of Minnesota.
We're making pot roast today.
Pot roast, a fall favorite.
It's time for Laura Schara to go wild in the kitchen with a recipe for those chilly September nights.
So good.
Yeah, one of my fall favorites.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Border View Lodge.
Time now to go wild in the kitchen. Laura Schara says she has moose roast. Where'd that come from?
It's an extra wild day for Wild in the Kitchen today because we are cooking Canada moose, one of my favorites.
One of my favorites too.
And what are we making?
We're making pot roast today.
Pot roast, a fall favorite.
First step, we are going to season the moose roast.
Salt and pepper, that's it.
Simple ingredients, perfectly prepared.
We like
Salt
simple.
and pepper.
Seasoning away.
So we've got a nice heavy cast iron pan, preheated, a little blended olive oil in there. And then you want to gently place this in there. Don't just throw it in there because that oil will splash and you hear that nice sizzle. It's going to give us that nice sear, caramelized crust.
So we should thank Ghost River Lodges for providing the moose today.
Definitely.
Because it is something special. That is golden brown.
Nice and golden brown. Gently flip it over on the other side. Now we are ready to usher in the flavored ingredients. We have a mirepoix of vegetables. We've got a little onions. The carrots can go in and some celery. Some garlic, please. A couple of bay leaves always helps. A little thyme, a little rosemary. We're almost there. We're
Okay.
gonna let those vegetables kind of soften just a little bit, and then we're gonna deglaze with our beef stock and the red wine. All right, now we're just gonna kind of put the lid on it, seal it up.
Now we have 3 hours to wait.
3 hours to wait.
I can smell the pot roast.
Ta-da!
Ooh. Amazing. Beautiful.
There you go. Arrange some of those great vegetables around the side.
All right, here's the taste.
Go for it. What do you think?
So good.
Yeah, one of my fall favorites.
So good. Pot roast is not only a fall favorite, but when you make it with a moose pot roast, now we're really talking. And of course, it's always wildly delicious.
There's one.
There's a fish.
Good one?
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Good.
Still ahead, the passing of a fishing legend in Minnesota, remembering Ted Capra.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Ellsworth Cooperative Creamery. Minnesota Rebath. Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
This summer, one of Minnesota's best-known fishermen made his last cast, and so we remember the one and only Ted Capra. When it's time to go fishing, Ted Capra isn't following doctor's orders. You need help?
I can get it.
And when it's time to cast for a bass, Minnesota's fishing machine doesn't ask the doctor.
I just watch myself.
At the age of 74,
It's got to be calm weather now.
Ted Capra places his faith
This bag is everything that I've got on my chest.
in a battery and his luck.
I got to carry it at all times. But it's a problem. I mean, it's a real problem. Here's a battery here and a battery here. There is a computer that sits right here. This computer runs everything. And as long as that green light is good and there's no alarms going off, I'm okay.
And the computer is running what?
It's running the pump that's in my heart.
In Ted's case, his first bad days of fishing began decades ago.
And that brought me to the hospital.
When, at age 43, he suffered a heart attack.
And I never got out of the hospital for 2 months.
Later, 2 more.
And the third was this spring, which was a pretty bad one. And so then they did open heart surgery.
Didn't the doctor tell you you had to quit fishing?
Well, that's what he told me. This might be a good one. And he's pretty proud of himself. Look at there, he's taking line.
Yeah,
I want to fall
nice
in.
northern. Bring my friend over here. You're a nice northern pike, though.
Yeah, that's a nice
Huh?
one.
Isn't he a beauty? You were saying something about the doctor? Say, now listen, with your gizmo on there, if you go in...
Just say, see ya.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. He says, well, don't you fall in. I says, well, I haven't yet, but you never know. Yeah, and he says, you should be with somebody at all times. I said, well, there's a lot of guys that don't like me that much. There's fish in them inside weed lines if you can catch them. Wow.
All right, Ted, this is not going to win the tournament for us.
Yeah, I'm glad there ain't none.
He just don't give up. And he's like that about life too. I mean, if you look at, his health and what he's been through, and even right now, to see what he's doing with the handicap that he has is phenomenal. I mean, he's putting his own boat in and fishing with himself with all the handicaps, and he just has a drive that's like no other. And he's instilled that in me, which is, good here for my business.
And so he's been real supportive, and I can't think what it's going to be like when he's not here. I don't even want to think about that day.
There's one.
There's a fish. Good one?
Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Good.
Coming up. Snag, that's why he feels good. Look where I got him.
Get him on the side.
He hit it and missed it. Nice fish, though. You got her? The neat thing is that I'm still fishing after all that. It's been fun. I mean, where can you say that you made a living doing what you like? And that's what we do. And I think there's something to be said about that. I mean, I don't ever want to give up. When I go, I've done everything I wanted to do, and that's fish.
Spoken like a true fishing machine. I don't think anybody could catch bass under pressure like Teddy Boy could do. Rest in peace, my friend. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors. I'm Ron Schara. Take him bass fishing. And of course, the star of the show, waiting for a treat, yeah, is Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. To get more Minnesota Bound, including full episodes, go to mnbound.com. And to follow our latest adventures, like us on Facebook.